Mocha Gypsy here. You know what's wild? I did everything right. I followed the rules. I jumped through every hoop the court and social worker gave me. And yet, the system kept siding with my abusive, clinically diagnosed narcissistic ex-husband. That's when I realized this fight wasn't just legal, it was spiritual. And that's why I turned to magic. Not crystals for vibes magic, not witchy aesthetic magic. Real magic, the kind that saved my life, saved my daughter, and led me to work with one of the most powerful angels in existence, a seraphim named Sharphiel. Stick around because by the end, I'll tell you how the same ritual that freed me can free you too. Let me back up. When I was 8 months pregnant, my ex hammer-fisted me in the face while we were driving on the interstate. Blood everywhere, nose and mouth busted. I thought, finally, the police will protect me. 5 officers showed up from 5 different jurisdictions. Do you know what they did? Nothing. They let him go home that night while I went to the hospital in an ambulance, alone. And the nurses didn't even take pictures. Nobody informed me that there was a domestic violence advocacy group in my town. The message was clear. They saw me as the problem. And it didn't stop there. After my daughter was born, he used the system itself as his weapon. False reports, manipulation, twisting every fear I confided in him and turning it into ammunition. When I defended myself one night, he recorded me, and suddenly I was the criminal. And out of spite, he called DFS to have our 6-week-old newborn baby taken and placed into foster care. That nearly destroyed me. But here's the part that still shocks people. Even when court-ordered psych evaluations came back diagnosing him with narcissistic personality disorder and flagging him as a possible PDF file, the female social worker, the female prosecutor, and the female guardian ad litem, all narcissistic mean girl bullies, still recommended to the court that he gets 50% custody. Meanwhile, I was treated like the enemy, even though I had a clean evaluation, found a stable home at the time, and a good job. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about my ex. It was about a corrupt, racist, good old boy system in small town Crook County, Wyoming. An isolated place where women and children were still seen as property of men. A place where educated women who ask questions are resented, and doubly so when they're black. And I realized I was never going to win by playing their game. I was desperate, and I prayed the way I had been taught, evangelical style, and instead of helping me, it seemed to actually make things worse and empower my ex. The system that was keeping me away from my daughter while protecting my abuser was full of good Christians who used their religion as a cover for their corruption. Their God, whoever it was they believed they were worshiping, wasn't protecting me. So I asked Spirit to guide me to another path. I've always been intuitive, psychic, but I hadn't fully leaned into it because of fear. This time I did because I had to. And Spirit led me to the Gallery of Magic books and community. Rituals with angels I've never heard of. Not the church-approved angels, but older, deeper ones from ancient texts. I started practicing protection spells, small workings to shift energy. And you know what? It worked. Then DFS tried to close my case by recommending 50% custody. I used magic to bend reality to stop them from giving him 100. When I had to hand my daughter over to him for visitations, I used hoodoo rituals to calm him, dull his rage, and an angelic ritual to make him slip up. I made him foolishly trespass at the domestic violence shelter I stayed in, something he wasn't allowed to do. That became evidence for my asylum case later on. And the biggest miracle? During our divorce mediation, I was able to influence him, this cunning Game of Thrones level manipulator, to agree to something unthinkable, signing off on getting my daughter a passport. Friends of mine are still floored that this control-obsessed narcissist would ever sign off on that. But he did, because magic opened that road. That passport was my golden ticket out. I used angelic rituals and mind magic to leave Wyoming without him suspecting a thing, and have no boarding issues at the airport. Eloise and I landed safely in Costa Rica, allowing us to finally live in peace. But before all of that unfolded, when I was newly divorced, free woman, I could still feel the weight and darkness of everything I had been through for most of my life. A painful abusive childhood, 2 abusive marriages, and bad friendships. All of that darkness was still clinging to me as a curse. So I performed a very special angelic ritual that I now call the Darkness of Abusers Purification Ritual. At the time, I didn't even research the angel it called upon, assuming it was too obscure and ancient to look up at the time. I just followed the process. I decided to perform the ritual for every significant person who either abused me, harmed me, or had ill feelings towards me. I had sensed that the energy of their resentment, contempt, or hatred for me created a thought form that manifested as a curse, which negatively affected my life in lasting ways. After spending an entire afternoon completing the ritual, the effects were almost immediate. The curses dissolved and heavy energy lifted. I felt lighter, freer, and felt a new hope for my future. Then, my circumstances shifted, and my troubled life quickly started changing for the better. I was finally led to my purpose. Money started to flow easily after struggling for most of my life to earn a decent living. The road was open to create my life the way I wanted. Later, I finally learned the truth after finally doing a quick Google search. The angel I had been working with, Sharphiel, was not just any angel, but a seraphim, the highest order in heaven, more powerful than Archangel Michael himself. Looking back, it was no wonder the results were so dramatic. Sharphiel is the angel of silence, purification, and transformation. He takes the chain of abuse, curses, and trauma and burns them away in divine fire. When I first saw him, he appeared as a golden fiery orb in my kitchen where my altar was. I was very new to practicing angelic magic at the time and was excited to share the news with other members in my occult group. And now, several years later, the world has seen the same heavenly being for themselves. News outlets and social media were buzzing about mysterious golden orbs appearing in the sky. Some say they're extraterrestrial. Others marveled at the fact that they respond to the name of Jesus. But I know they are Sharphiel and other seraphim angels, revealing themselves to the world. The ritual I did with Sharphiel changed my life. It saved my life. It freed me from the darkness my ex-husband tried to chain me with. It cut away the curses of my narcissistic family. It broke the toxic ties of false friends. It gave me back my power after years of corruption and abuse. That's why I created the Darkness of Abusers Purification Journey. It's the very same spiritual process I first used on myself, calling upon Angel Sharphiel to burn away the residue of abuse, narcissism, and spiritual attack, now guided and supported within an 8-week journey of coaching and transformation. Clients who've gone through it describe immediate breakthroughs, peace of mind, and doors opening where before there were only blockages. Because this isn't just about surviving abuse, it's about purifying it out of your system so you can live free, whole, and protected. So if you've been battling a narcissist, whether it's an ex, or family members, or even a corrupt system, You don't have to keep carrying their darkness. You don't have to keep fighting alone. Sharphiel is real. His golden fire is already showing up in the skies for the world to see. And through this journey, you can bring his power directly into your life. If you're ready to break free, click the link below and learn more about the Darkness of Abusers purification journey. I'll be guiding you step by step, just as I did for myself and others, because you deserve freedom, you deserve peace, and you deserve to reclaim your light. Be blessed.